Hi Ankit, and thanks a lot for giving your time to me for this interaction.
Yes, yes, thank you. I'm glad.
Okay, अंकित आज का जो हमारा इंटरेक्शन है that is related to IELTS, IELTS, and as we know IELTS is basically compulsory course for English speaking. You know, when you take admission abroad, that is what I understand, that whenever you have to take admission abroad, countries, universities, they ask for IELTS score, IELTS and TOEFL score. But today's interaction is about IELTS. So I will be asking you a couple of questions, and through that you can answer about all these things. My first question to you is, what is IELTS actually?
So, sir, basically, IELTS is an English proficiency test, which is basically required for university admissions as well as for the migration purpose. So, IELTS is just basically test your ability in English language. That's all it is.
So now this Ankit, where is this IELTS required? I mean, all the universities abroad, whenever I'm to apply, do I need even in Europe?
So, sir, basically, there are a lot of variations as basically in terms of your question. But if I have to answer your question, I would say yes, generally it is required. But what we have observed basically in India, we have this 4 years of graduation. And if you get a certification which says that you have completed your study in English from your university, then I think most of the universities will waive off your IELTS requirement. But if you don't show this certificate, I would say then you have to write IELTS as well. But there is one another point which I will quickly make. University generally don't care about your IELTS exam. It's not a mandatory exam, but sometimes for visa requirement, it is very necessary exam. So for visa, you have to write IELTS. Otherwise, it depends on the university. If your profile is not that great, you can basically improve your profile with this IELTS test or basically GRE. These examinations are for that reasons only.
You are correct, because in Cranfield University in UK, last time when I was talking to one professor there, he said that it is not the requirement of university, but it is the requirement of visa, for visa, and the government wants this particular thing. And he also said that yes, it can be waived off if you can show some another document. So that what another document can be, that I will discuss with you later on, not in this interaction. Now this interaction is all about IELTS and its a pattern or its a structure. So now I come to that part, Ankit. Can you please tell us IELTS में होता क्या है? What are the structure? What are the components? What a student is to prepare?
Yes, sir. So basically, IELTS, first of all, IELTS is a very easy exam. Some
Okay.
students take 2, 3 months for preparation. I don't think that you need to prepare for that much time. What you can do is you can simply prepare for a week or two. You just have to prepare 4 parts, that is speaking, writing, reading, and listening, right? Listening is very easy, and also reading, we are familiar with, taking these comprehensions. And the third one is basically writing. So writing is a little bit trickier, but again, there are only 2 tasks. First one is basically you have to summarize a graph. That could be anything like bar, pie, line graph, all these things. So we have to summarize within 150 words. And second task is again easy. It's basically you have to write a essay, right? So you just have 250 words. So you just have to respect, the word limits. And then speaking, it's just like I am interacting to you and you're asking me questions. So that would be one-on-one interview style speaking test. So this is just, a little bit idea about IELTS, uh, components. And the next thing is in reading and in listening, there would be 40 questions. There would be no negative marking, right? And for writing, yes, so you have to, write and get a band. And for speaking, again, it's a very easy thing. So that's why I'm saying you don't have to prepare a lot if you are in touch with English, you're using English in your graduate school. That is basically for master students, even for bachelor students, uh, if they are using English constantly or frequently, they can simply prepare within a week or 10 days or maximum 14 to 15 days.
Okay, Ankit, so I will also request you that whatever structure you showed, later on, if we can get a dedicated, video from your side related to this structure, like, these are the components and this is the marks and this is the duration, so that will be very, very helpful to the students. So please make that also, so that it provides a lot of insight to the students. Now
Sure, sir.
coming to what you said, it is easy exam, but there are so many students who are from Hindi speaking belt in India. They're not very confident in English. In fact, they fear English. They fear English, that otherwise technically they're very good. You are already aware. Like technically they have very good concepts, and they may get into higher education courses in universities. But the moment it comes to English as a subject, they tend to deviate. They say no, we cannot do, we cannot speak actually. So assuming that somebody is having very poor base in English, what is the strategy for such students, and how many months?
Oh, so I think they should take somewhere around 2 to 3 months if they
Okay.
are from Hindi medium.
Mm,
And in that case, basically, they I think they need to show this certificate, right?
mm,
So if they're getting this certificate from university that you have completed this coursework or basically your four years of education in English, then again it would be fine. If you have done your bachelor's in Hindi medium. I don't know if that's a thing in India, but
mm,
again, if that's possible, then you have to write IELTS exam. The next thing is, yes, they should definitely take 2 to 3 months because they have to first of all, make some base in English.
mm,
For that reasons, I would say definitely take as much as you want for the preparation. The
mm,
next thing is what would be the first step? So I would say that basically, start slowly, start, like watch movies and try to understand what they're saying, and basically listen to English music, as well as listen to podcasts
mm,
that would help in your listening portion. For reading, I would say start reading newspapers, or basically lit, try to read a book, I say, right? And for writing, I think they have to understand the writing structure. So in Europedia, even in Europedia, we teach students this writing format,
mm,
right? So there are these basically ways to write introduction, then what to write in the body, then how to conclude your writing. So all of these things are basically has patterns. The next beautiful thing about writing exam in IELTS is you don't have to think by yourself.
mm,
In the second task, which is basically an essay task, you have to write an opinion, or basically a few argumentative type essay. So I would say, again, for that you have to think about the reasons. But when it comes to writing this introduction and conclusion, you just have to paraphrase the question.
mm,
So paraphrasing is just like 10-second thing. So you can write your introduction and your conclusion in 10 seconds. For speaking, I would say there are a lot of groups. Okay, take help with of your colleagues, right? So just start interacting in English, I would say. So again, this could be done in within 2 to 3 months.
mm. Okay, and Ankit, if I ask you about the bands, we have heard that there are something which are called bands and all. What is the meaning of that? And how much bands are
So
required for
bands,
admission?
yeah. So bands are just like your marks, right? In IELTS exam. So instead of giving you out of 100 marks, they simply give you band, or which basically tells about your level. So for example, if you have a really good, so basically the maximum band is 9, and out of 9 band you get bands. So all these four components, reading, listening, writing, and speaking, these all four basically has 9 bands, right? So your overall IELTS marks basically is the average of these four bands.
Mm-hmm.
So again, generally students take 7 bands, 7.5 bands, 8.5 bands, and so minimum I have seen is basically 6 bands. Yeah.
But
So again,
is the
yes.
band also criteria for getting admissions in there? No.
Well, that's a really good question, sir. So again, this is one thing which students keeps on forgetting, and they keep writing IELTS again and again. So, for example, there is a country-based requirement when it comes to how much bands you have, and you must get. So, for example, if you want to take admission in Canada, Canada wants your 6.5 bands. That's all, right? So you don't have. If you have more, that's perfectly fine. If you have less, you have to, I think, think about that again. But Europe just needs 6 bands. So it doesn't really matter if you get 7 or 7.5 bands or 6.5 bands. It will
Mm,
not make that much difference in
mm,
admission.
mm,
USA, it depends, 7 to 7.5 bands. Some university ask for 6.5 bands. And in Australia, astonishingly, they need 5.5 bands to 6.5 bands.
mm,
It depends on which courses you are interested in. In UK, again, I would say 6 bands. So I think if you are getting more than the required band, that is fine. But if you are getting less, then you have to think about writing this exam again. Otherwise, there is no requirement of writing this exam again and again just to get, 1 or 2 bands more.
Perfect. So that was a beautiful explanation of this IELTS from your side, Ankit. And Ankit, we ended up the session here only. And I'll be requesting you for such weekly sessions so that the information related to IELTS, like what next video I think we should discuss about is structure of IELTS, entire structure which you explained orally, but I request you to make it little in the form of some kind of table or something, if students can visually see that okay, this is the situation. Second, one interaction we should have related to Ankit on band requirement. You mentioned Canada mein, Europe mein, and America mein, the requirements of bands. That can be the second interaction related to IELTS we can have. And one interaction also we can have, what are the alternatives to IELTS? Suppose I don't know to write IELTS, so what are the alternatives where we can go proceed? So next couple of interaction I want to have with you on these topics, which I'm very sure are very, very relevant for students. So let me thank you for
Sure,
your
sir.
time again. Thank
Thank
you.
you.